What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology's daily devotional, man. And we are going through the book of Exodus. Last episode, we talked about the name of God, and we're going to speak a little bit deeper about it, man, because it's so powerful. It's so awesome. It's so wonderful, man. Just what it is containing, how it speaks to the power of God, and then the knowledge of Moses as he writes these things through the power of the Holy Spirit, of course, because that's the only way it's going to happen, but that it could mean and show and reveal so much about who God is just through his name. This is beyond belief. It like strikes my heart, and I'm like, man, this is one of the reasons and why I believe and trust in God is because of just the sheer ability to represent himself in a modern mind for us, as well as in a pre-modern mind. And matter of fact, I guess now a postmodern mind, because there's so much thinking that's going on. And that is what's so cool about God, is that since he is outside of time, he knows how to reveal himself in such a way that all generations can understand him. That's why in the next verse, we ain't going to read it today, but it says that this is how my name will be remembered for all generations, because it's not going to matter what generation it is. It's still going to make sense. That's the powerful thing, man. That's the powerful thing about God and who he is. So, let's jump into it, man. If you haven't read it yet, go ahead and read Exodus 3:13 and 14. Talks about his name, and then we will jump into it. But if you've already read, we ain't got to wait. Let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. So, really, the thing I wanted to talk about today is just what his name means. So, in the last episode, I said it wasn't Yahweh when he revealed himself. We're going to see when he comes to that and when we get into these next verses. But what we see here is that God reveals himself as oh man, I always hate it because I get confused in ways, but it's Yahweh, but it's Ehweh. And it says Ehweh Asher Ehweh. All right. And so what that means is it derives. Let's start out like this. It derives from what means will be or to be. And so the way in which it's used here, it is actually a couple of ways. It could be future tense, or it could be past tense, or it could be present tense. How does it all be like this? How does it all show us? Because in some ways it's what they call a stative or stative, in which it means that it is ongoing and continue, a state of being. So when it says, that's where we get the idea of I am that I am. And normally it's not past. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. But normally in this sense, it would be future. So it would be I will be that which or who I will be normally. But then there is a sense in which it's stative, in which that it is a continuous thing, an action that continues on. And so that's where we get the idea of I am that I am. But I want to start out with this future idea, because earlier when we saw that Moses was speaking with Yahweh, he said, well, how will I do this? And God said, I will be with you. And what's so amazing about this language is in English, you have to say, use the verb to be. Like, I am Paul. You have to say that. But in Hebrew, the am part, you don't have to put that in there. It's just I, Paul. And you recognize that the am is a part of it. And so some scholars have thought when God speaks to Moses, after he asks the question, who am I to go do it? He says, I will be with you. Well, that I will be could be a revelation of his name that he revealed to him before he even revealed it in this next verse. He says, I am is with you. So he's saying his name, like I will be with you. Like I will be with you. He gives his name to Moses and says that he will be with you. The one, the great, the almighty, the creator will be with you. And now we speak about the creator is that this verb to be, they think that it could actually, because Yahweh is in a form that is a bit different than the to be verb. And so a quick sense is that Yahweh is actually has a vav instead of a yod, and to be has a yod, and so they think that it may have come from an older archaic use of the to be. And so language is so beautiful, man. And if I'm losing in here, just stick with me a little bit. But because it could have been from an old or a former use of the word, then the way it is presented now is what's called it's a hifil, and it's causative. That means that when using the verb, it means it's causing something to happen. And so as creator, he calls himself YHWH, which instead of I am or I will be, it is I cause to be. And so when he says his name, YHWH, I say YHWH, he says, I cause to be that which I cause to be. I bring about that which I bring about. And so, in one sense, as God says, the first one, which is powerful, he says, I will be with you. I will be with you. I will be that which I will be. So whatever you need me to be, I will be there, in the sense that I am the God who can do anything. And then now he says that the name is I cause to be. So I am creator. I am the one that brings about all things. That is the summation of who I am in the name in which I gave to you. Another characteristic that you need to learn, that you need to know, is that I cause to be, or I create that which is created. Everything that's created comes through me. And then there's another sense of his name. And when we talked about earlier, the way in which everybody kind of understands the name is I am that I am. And what that is that pure existence, man. It's that God is true reality. Is that his name is, and the way that the Hebrew people, when they talked about it, they didn't think in a sense like that. From the way that the language is used, it existence and like existentialism isn't a part of the idea, more of action, doing. That's why I cause to be that which I cause to be, or I will be with you, is more pronounced, or more of what the people of Israel would have understood his name as. But as time went on, and we see this in the Greek language, whenever they begin to speak about God's name and use it in their language, they brought it to mean I am that which I am. And so it bodes the fact that existence was a thought process for existentialism, was a process for the Greek people, which now in modern and postmodern times, it's about who we are and our existence and how we live. But the way in which God's name is presented represents that. And so in a time before that idea or thought was thought about, God in his sovereignty has a name that still represents that in today's culture, saying that I am pure existence. I am that I am. There's nothing that caused me to be. There's nothing that brought me about. But I purely exist. I am purely life. I am real, in the sense that there is that I am real, true. That anything that has to have being through me. That is the name of God. That's what YHWH means. That is so powerful to me, man. It's just a revelation of how God can continue to reveal himself to people through many generations by simply his name. By simply his name. And Moses, man, he wrote these things in the guidance of the Holy Spirit, because Moses could not have thought about the way in which we as human beings would think now as compared to how he thinks then. And so for me, it's a revelation of the power, the sovereignty, the omniscience of God in his character and his nature. I hope it's impactful to you as well, as much as it is to me. As much as it is to me. Now, one more thing about this. I know we're going a little long, but it is a revelation When Moses asked for the name of God and God gives it to him, it is a revelation of how God had presented himself before. The other ways have been titles, because this is his name, right? Ihweh, or Yahweh. When we see that he says, this is the name by which he will be known forever, is Yahweh. So Yahweh is his name. We talked a little bit about this in the last episode, how there's titles. And so before God has revealed himself in other ways as the God who sees, as the God who saves, as the God of power, strength, and might. That is how he has revealed himself in other ways to his people or to others. We've got, I think, El Roy, which is the God who sees. And we find that when he speaks with Hagar. And then we have El Shaddai, the powerful God. And we have the banner God. We have all of these different ways in which he has revealed himself to his children. And then now we have seen the ultimate revelation of who he is. When this revelation just encompasses almost without everything of who he is. Everything of who he is. This is so powerful. So what's to say about God? Well, it reveals who he is. It reveals who he is. What's it say about us? It reveals who we're not. We're not creator. We are not the one who will always be with them. God is the one who has those attributes. That is who he is, man. Now, how do we apply these truths to our lives, man? I think the best way to apply these truths to our lives is to just contemplate on his name, what it means, and how we can live under its banner. If God will be with us, why worry? If God has created all things, why do we need to worry about making anything else? If God is pure and true, life and existence, then that's how we have to find our life and our existence. So how are you looking at Yahweh in your life? Hey, I appreciate you guys for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.